Hello and welcome to Bloke on the Range, and I just had a round number birthday, and yeah, so sort of semi midlife crisis gun. I bought a Glock 17 Gen 5 with a dot, Holosun 509T. Yes, very out of character, I know, except I've joined an IPSC club and I want to train seriously at it, and plus this same gun I can actually shoot in the Swiss federal program, but with the iron sights. They have to be OEM iron sights though, so none of these tall metal aftermarket things. Now, this raises an important question regarding whether this mount will return to zero, and I'll show you it once I've got it off. But basically, what's under here is sort of a mini Weaver Picatinny thingy, and it clamps onto it. The OEM mount adapters, the OEM dot adapters are hot trash. Bin them. They're useless, and they don't make one that's for Holosun anyway. So there's a Holosun adapter that comes with it that puts it onto an RMR. So if you stack the RMR one on there with the Holosun one on top of it, tighten the screws down, it just bends up at the back. It just doesn't work. Aftermarket all the way. Junk those things. So what I'm going to do to test this is try very hard with my trigger control, because that's my big issue. Shoot a 10 round group with the dot on. I'm then going to shoot a little bit with the dot off, so that I know if I'm going to adjust the sights at all for that. And then I'm going to put the dot back on and see if it has kept zero within the limits of what my trigger control will allow. We have an ordnance target out there at 25 meters, and on a really good day, 20 shots, I should be putting 16 to 18 in the 10 with a SIG 210. But anyway, I shot this in a practical match yesterday, which was great. What I really like about the dot is that it shows you where you're screwing up. So it gives you a lot better feedback than the sights do. So 10 rounds loaded, mate, ready. The tricky thing with the dot is, because it moves around a lot, you see every single tremor. It appears a lot less stable than iron sights do, but it's mostly psychological, because your iron sights are by definition moving around just as much, but because you're trying to line three things up rather than two, you don't see it as much. That was low. Middle. Ever so slightly low left. It's a useful skill. In fact, it's an essential skill, learning how to call your shots. So knowing that as the striker falls, that's gone, high left, high right, wherever. Good. Left. And I'm spent. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's just pushed a patch through there. Unless that pushed a patch through. Don't know. Could be either way. Anyway, that's it seems to be a bit high and right, but let's just remember that. I'm not going to adjust it, because we just want to see where it goes compared to that. So hold that thought. And while I'm doing the boring task of patching out, I will bore you with requests to interact with the video, share it on social media, like and subscribe, support the channel Patreon, and all the other things that feed the algorithm with the good stuff to get the channel noticed. Okay, so to take this off, it's just one screw, because it's a rail type attachment, and I'm doing this with a torque wrench, because, and then, provided this hasn't got stuck, that should just, come on. There we go. So, you can see there that it's just like a mini, skinny Weaver / Picatinny jobby what's it with two screws to hold it onto the frame. Now, I've not shot this with iron sights yet. Before the match yesterday, the weekend before, I got to zero the dot and I didn't shoot off irons. So all I'm going to do is hold in the middle and see where they go with the factory, nasty, cheap plastic iron sights. As I mentioned before, my trigger control is my weak point, and that's what's going on there. So it's shooting a little bit left and a little bit low, so a slightly longer front sight will fix that. But the question is, has the dot held zero? And remember that we had a tight cluster up there and then some down there. So let's put it back on and find out. Okay, so we hook it back over. And then what I want you to do as you tighten it up is, trying to do three things at once here. As you tighten it up, is push it forward on the little rail, because under recoil, that's the way it's going to go. So you can sort of preempt it. And they recommend 20 inch-pounds of torque, which this is set to. Clink. So there we go. It's really cool that they're producing slides pre-cut for optics. So this will tell me whether the zero is close enough that if I have to take it off to shoot, say, Feldschießen, and then go to a practical match with the dot on, whether I have to take it to the range and re-zero it in the meantime. Let's find out. Is this going to be close enough for government work? Trigger control. That was faster, and I think I might have got them all in. It's a bit of a trope, but you can let your sights tell you how fast to go, provided you then don't mash the trigger. So let's get the targets back in. I think we can call that returns to zero, because we've got basically a similar spread. That's probably dodgy trigger control. I'm happy with that. That actually gives me a lot of confidence that this is going to come back to zero like that. Now, before I go, because I feel bad about how bad my iron sight shooting was, we're going to try it again. We're going to take it off. I'm going to shoot it. I won't bore you with the whole process. I'll just speed it up. I just want to double check that this will return to zero again a second time. So I'll bore on them. 2 off, unfortunately. I'm aiming about here. I mean, I'm shooting 115 grain ammo. The Swiss issue ammo might go a bit higher, but aiming there, taking it really gently so that I don't screw up the trigger control. But yeah, that's 98. That's not bad. I'm actually gonna have to change this target out because this is screwed, and then I'll put the dot back on. Okay, so I've got the dot back on. Let's see if I can do that well with the dot, but I'm gonna aim at the same point. I'm getting tired now. That was not what's good. Seeing the dot wobble. There's a bit of poor trigger control going on there, but the sort of center of the non-called shots is about where it was. So I'm quite happy with that in terms of my ability to shoot it with the iron sights, and also with the ability of the dot to return to zero. So I know that I'm close enough that if I have to shoot with the irons and then go to shoot a match, I don't really have to go and check zero. What I might do is click this across like just a little touch and see. The adjustments seem to be coarser than the manual says. That was my first impression of them, but yeah, that's pretty good. So anyway, I hope that was at least vaguely interesting. I didn't drone on too long. Please like and subscribe to the channel and all that. Please consider supporting us on Patreon, and I'm going to have some more fun on the range here. So bye.